Epictetus believed that happiness and inner peace are entirely within our power, but it may not seem that way, especially when we consider all the suffering in the world. To illustrate this, think of happiness as a garden that needs tending, while external circumstances such as illness, heartbreak, and conflict can be like weeds threatening to overrun that garden. The tools to cultivate and protect it lie within us. People get sick and pass away. Heartbreak and betrayal can feel overwhelming, resembling a storm that disrupts our tranquility. Crazy politicians leading nations to the brink of war remind us how chaotic life can be. Faced with so much adversity, it's natural to wonder if true happiness and peace are even possible. However, Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, offers us a beacon of hope through his teachings. Stoicism is about recognizing that, while we cannot control external events, we can control our responses and interpretations of them. It teaches that our thoughts shape our feelings, much like how glasses can change our perspective of the world. Tinted lenses can distort color, filtering our vision. If we change the lenses through which we view adversity, we can find clarity and resilience. For example, when faced with disappointment, instead of spiraling into despair, we can practice reframing our thoughts. What if this setback is an opportunity for growth? It's like having a flat tire on a journey. It may delay you, but it could also encourage you to explore new paths you wouldn't have otherwise considered. Epictetus and his Stoic philosophy aim to tackle the challenge of being swayed by outside circumstances. His teachings are often direct and straightforward, reminding us that avoiding pain and discomfort doesn't lead to genuine peace. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about experiencing our feelings honestly while not letting them dictate our lives. To put this into practice, ask yourself, how do I respond in tough situations? Write down instances where you felt overwhelmed by external pressures and identify the thoughts contributing to your anxiety. Then, challenge those thoughts. Do they hold water? What's a more constructive way to view the situation? The blunt nature of some of Epictetus's teachings makes them difficult to digest. Rather than coddling us, they aim to provoke thought and inspire action. He acts more like a coach than a gentle healer. This tough love forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that we have the power to control our responses even when we feel utterly out of control. His teachings don't gloss over reality or sugarcoat life's challenges. Instead, they provide a roadmap for navigating them. He emphasizes that understanding what is within our control is crucial. For instance, instead of fixating on others' reactions or uncontrollable events, focus on your actions and attitudes. This brings to mind the Serenity prayer, which encourages us to accept what we cannot change and change what we can. As we delve deeper into Stoic principles, consider the practice of mindfulness, which echoes these philosophies. By being present in the moment, we can better recognize our thought patterns and emotional responses to the world around us. When we feel anxious, we can pause and ask ourselves, is this thought helping or hurting me? Through these lessons, we can learn that profound peace requires a continual effort to free ourselves from all the distractions and disturbances life throws our way. If we want to attain true freedom and happiness, we should fully commit to this journey of inner exploration and awareness. This is not merely philosophical musing, it's a practical approach to life. To further incorporate these insights, I encourage you to engage in daily reflection. Spend a few minutes in the evening considering your reactions to the events of the day. What went well, what didn't, and how you could respond differently next time. Over time, these small exercises can cultivate a profound shift in your emotional landscape, aligning with the timeless teachings of Stoicism. He emphasizes that half measures won't do the job. This is an essential principle in Stoic philosophy, which values commitment and full engagement in our actions. Think of it like baking a cake. If you only partially follow the recipe, you won't end up with the desired treat. This notion resonates deeply in self-help contexts, where achieving true peace of mind requires a complete commitment to eliminating distractions and disturbances in our lives. To achieve profound peace, one must understand that it encompasses freedom from all the elements that disrupt our mental state. Picture your mind as a calm lake. Any disturbance, a negative thought, anxiety, or stress is like a stone thrown into that water, creating ripples. To attain clarity, we must eliminate these disturbances. In Stoicism, the idea of going all the way speaks to this dedication. It requires us to fully engage with our emotions, confront our fears, and make choices aligned with our values. This video delves into the actual causes of our suffering. According to Stoic philosophy, suffering often stems from our thoughts and perceptions rather than external events. Our emotional responses are largely influenced by how we interpret what happens around us. For instance, if you encounter a setback at work, perceiving it as a personal failure can lead to feelings of inadequacy. However, viewing it as a learning opportunity shifts your emotional response and leads to growth. Epictetus teaches that understanding this distinction can empower us in developing unshakable peace, a goal that's entirely within our control. A practical exercise would be to jot down a recent setback and reframe it by identifying what you can learn from it. Do you know what's also entirely in your power? Supporting this YouTube channel. Just as we develop our inner resources through practice, contributing to communities that foster growth is an important step. Consider joining my Patreon, where you'll find ad-free videos that allow for continuous learning, have a say in future topics that pique your interest, and receive free merchandise, a tangible reminder of your commitment to personal growth. You can also follow me on social media for updates, uplifting quotes, and more insights. Engaging in these platforms can help provide a supportive community where we share ideas and encouragement, which is invaluable on our journeys of self-improvement. Thank you, and I hope you'll enjoy this video as a stepping stone towards understanding and embracing Stoic wisdom in your everyday life. Although little is known about Epictetus's life, historical records suggest he was likely born into slavery in Hierapolis, in present-day Turkey, around 50 AD. Imagine starting life in such a constrained position, one where you might feel that your fate is out of your control. Yet Epictetus managed to rise above his circumstances and embrace philosophy as a powerful tool for personal freedom. This is a key tenet of Stoic philosophy, the belief that we can always control our thoughts and reactions, regardless of our external situations. As you reflect on your own life, think of a time when you felt powerless. How could a Stoic perspective shift that feeling toward one of empowerment? Epictetus showed a keen interest in philosophy from an early age, recognizing it as a path to pursue after gaining his freedom. He studied under the Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus in Rome, a mentor who emphasized the importance of practical ethics, which is at the heart of Stoicism. Imagine attending a class where every lesson is applicable to your everyday life. This is what Stoicism offers. To help internalize this idea, try journaling about a philosophical principle that resonates with you and write down how you can apply it in a challenging situation you're currently facing. But when Emperor Domitian banned all philosophers from Rome, Epictetus faced another challenge. He relocated to Nicopolis, where he established a school that became a beacon of wisdom, attracting students from far and wide. This teaches us about resilience, the ability to adapt and thrive despite setbacks. Consider your own challenges. How might you pivot in response to obstacles? A practical way to exercise resilience is to identify one current challenge and brainstorm 3 alternative approaches to address it. While Epictetus's teachings were not penned by himself, they were captured in the notes of his pupil Arrian. These writings, known as the Discourses and the Enchiridion, provide a rich framework for understanding Stoic thought, which emphasizes rationality and virtue as pathways to true happiness. Think of this as a guidebook for navigating life, providing actionable advice on how to cultivate a mindset conducive to inner peace. After reading a passage from these texts, pause to reflect on how you might embody that lesson in a practical way. What small action can you take today to live more in line with those Stoic virtues? Historical accounts suggest that Epictetus lived a remarkably simple life, teaching others with a sharp, direct style. This simplicity reflects another essential Stoic principle, focusing on what truly matters and shedding unnecessary distractions. Just as you might declutter your physical space, Consider decluttering your mind and emotions. Identify one thought or belief that no longer serves you and actively work to release it. You might even visualize it as a balloon floating away, giving you more space to embrace more positive and constructive thoughts. Remember, Stoicism teaches us that it's our thoughts that shape our emotional responses. By practicing this daily decluttering, we're likely to find greater emotional balance and clarity. He emphasized the dichotomy of control, a crucial Stoic concept that teaches us to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. Think of it like the weather. You can choose how to dress for the day, but you can't change whether it rains or shines. This understanding is vital for achieving inner freedom, which is the state of true contentment that comes from within, unaffected by external circumstances. He viewed philosophy as far more than mere intellectual exercise. Instead, it is a practical guide for living. Imagine philosophy as a map. It not only shows you the landscape of life, but also how to navigate through it. To him, philosophy needs to be lived and practiced like learning to ride a bike. You can read all about biking, but until you get on a bike and start pedaling, that knowledge remains untested theory. True philosophers don't just engage in debates about philosophical ideas. They embody these principles in their daily lives. Consider this. Have you ever met someone who speaks about kindness yet acts selfishly? That's a disconnect. Stoicism teaches us to align our actions with our beliefs so that what we profess resonates in our behaviors. However, truly applying Epictetus' teachings demands effort and is no small feat. It's akin to training for a marathon. The journey requires perseverance, and there will be days of struggle and discomfort. The path to inner peace is not just about feeling good. It also entails reshaping how we perceive situations, reassessing our values, and redefining our desires. For instance, if we encounter a setback at work, rather than brooding over it, a Stoic perspective encourages us to evaluate what we can learn from the experience. This transformation requires consistent practice, sacrifice, and dedication. Imagine it as a daily workout for the mind. Just as physical fitness calls for ongoing effort, cultivating a Stoic mindset means regularly revisiting these principles and applying them in real life. A practical exercise here is to start a daily reflection journal. At the end of each day, jot down moments when you felt in control and those when you felt overwhelmed. This can help identify areas where you can shift your thinking and behavior. Now, let's dive deeper into the wisdom of the ancient Stoics, particularly Epictetus, to uncover what he believed to be the root causes of our pain and suffering. According to him, the root of our suffering doesn't lie in external events, but in how we perceive and respond to them. It's not the financial loss that creates distress, but our attachment to the notion of having that specific amount of money. For example, if we lose a job, we may grieve not just the loss of the income, but the identity tied to that position. Through this lens, understanding that our emotional responses can often be traced back to our thoughts opens a door for healing. A simple exercise to practice this could be to take a troubling thought you have and challenge it. Ask yourself, is this thought serving me? What evidence do I have that contradicts this thought? This shift in perspective can significantly alleviate feelings of distress. For instance, when we experience a financial setback, our grief often stems not from the loss of money itself, but from our deep-seated attachment to it. Stoic philosophy teaches us that our perceptions, rather than the events themselves, shape our emotional responses. This perspective can be likened to viewing a cloud on a sunny day. It's not the cloud that dims the light, but our focus on it that casts a shadow over our happiness. Similarly, consider spiders. They aren't inherently scary creatures. They play vital roles in our ecosystem, yet we often project fear onto them due to past experiences or cultural conditioning. Imagine approaching a spider with curiosity instead of dread, reminding yourself that it plays a part in nature's balance. Practical exercise: the next time you see a spider, observe it without judgment. Take a moment to appreciate its role in the environment. The ancient Stoics pointed out that we instinctively form value judgments about every event and circumstance we encounter. This happens nearly instantly, often without conscious thought. For example, when we spot a spider, our minds might automatically label it as bad or dangerous. This quick snap judgment can trigger our desire to flee. Conversely, when we see a fresh loaf of bread, many of us feel drawn to it, as if it were a treasure beckoning us. The judgments we form influence our actions. We see something we want, and suddenly our thoughts and desires take the lead. Practical exercise: keep a journal where you note down automatic judgments you make each day. Reflect on whether these judgments are based in reality or simply emotional projections. Yet, not all of our perceptions are rooted in reasoned thought. For example, a reasonable impression occurs when we observe daylight and acknowledge that it is, indeed, daytime. The sun's presence in the sky affirms our understanding of this reality, which is reliable most of the time. In contrast, we might react with profound fear when seeing a harmless house spider, judging it as a terrifying and dangerous threat. This illustrates how distorted our perception can become. Rather than seeing the spider for what it is, a mere creature of nature, our responses can become exaggerated and unhelpful. Practical exercise: engage in a reality check where you consciously challenge an unreasonable fear. Write down the facts regarding the object of your fear and counter each irrational thought with a rational one. This continuous cycle of judging everything we encounter is our mind's way of attempting to make sense of the world around us. Interestingly, animals engage in similar judgment processes, reacting instinctively to stimuli without the layers of social conditioning that humans sometimes face. Our judgments can arise from cultural influences, religious beliefs, or natural instincts. These learned responses are connected to our well-being, often leading us to feel unpleasant emotions such as fear and anger. Practical exercise: practice mindfulness by taking a few moments throughout your day to observe your emotional reactions without judgment. Acknowledge your feelings, trace them back to their source, and ask yourself if they are warranted. In essence, these distressing emotions we experience don't stem from the events themselves, but rather from the judgments and perceptions we attach to them. By recognizing this connection, we can begin to shift our mindset, leading to healthier emotional responses and a greater sense of inner peace. Practical exercise: at the end of each day, reflect on an emotional experience you had. Identify the judgment you made in that moment and explore alternative perspectives. How might a Stoic think about this situation differently? This inner dialogue can cultivate a profound shift in your understanding and emotional health, aligning your perceptions with a clearer sense of reality and control. Again, these forms of distress don't stem directly from the events and circumstances we encounter in life. Instead, they arise from our judgments, perceptions, and the responses we create regarding those events and circumstances. In Stoic philosophy, this idea is central. It teaches us that our emotions are not dictated by external events themselves, but by how we interpret those events. For instance, consider how we might react to a delicious loaf of bread. If we perceive it as scrumptious, we naturally develop a desire to eat it, which is a basic instinct. On the flip side, if we view a spider as something to be feared, an aversion arises, leading to feelings of anxiety or disgust. This perception is crucial because it can modify how we react to our environment. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, identified these two driving forces: desire and aversion. He suggested that both could lead to distress, manifesting as emotions like fear, anger, disappointment, and grief. Let's say you're driving and Epictetus flips the concept of acceptance on its head. From his perspective, you have difficulties accepting all this stuff because deep inside you still have a lot of desire and aversion toward things out of control. Acceptance, then, is less about forcing yourself to endure what you dread and more about aligning your desires and aversions with the natural order of the universe. Instead of focusing on acceptance, how about we redirect our desire and aversion so that it perfectly aligns with the natural flow of the universe? Here's where appetites, a simple but profound piece of wisdom, comes to fruition. And I quote, "Ask not that events should happen as you will, but later will be. That events should happen as they do, and you shall have peace." End quote. Wishing for things to happen as they do instead of demanding things to happen as you want instantly blows away all resistance. You simply let go of all demands, all aversions, all attachments to specific outcomes, all bitterness of things not working out the way you want. What a relief, and what a peaceful way to exist in the face of an erratic universe. It's also a much firmer starting point for making the world a better place. So, what do you think about Epictetus's radical teachings? Please let me know in the comment section. Thank you for watching.